lecture series. Um, I'm so happy that all of you have joined. Good afternoon once again. My name is Rakesh Godhwani, and this is a very dear initiative of me and my team from School of Meaningful Experiences. If you have just joined in, thank you so much for being there. Uh, and This is something that I always wanted to do. Uh, and we finally put together this initiative called Get Set Grow with the help of all of you and my team. Um, what I wanted to do was focus on few important things, and I'm going to keep checking my cell phone so that my team can also guide me. When I used to do lots of workshops and classes on communication, um, there is a problem that I started to notice in this whole concept. One is that we are doing workshops which is very quick, very bite sized, like capsules, and they solve a problem. But a larger problem that I really wanted to focus on, which is why I started School of Meaningful Experiences, is how do we create a community of engaged learners that we learn soft skills? One is teaching soft skills and solving problems, getting better career opportunities, which is what we'll anyway do. But the other part is there is a huge ocean of knowledge about this subject. There is theory, there are researches, there are experiments, there are ideas, there are concepts. And as a researcher, I always felt that I needed to bring that into the common discourse as we go along. So, this initiative is about that. That there is this ocean of information I'd like to share with you. I also want to learn from all of you. I'm sure there are many of you out there who probably know so much. And this initiative, Get Set Grow, has an objective to, first of all, demystify soft skills and communication to the whole world. Second is create a community of engaged learners. And if all of you are there, welcome again. I know many of you are joining, so I'll keep welcoming all of you. I'm so excited. And I hope that this initiative becomes like a snowball, and snowball becomes bigger and bigger. The momentum pushes it forward. And I hope we can all create a community of engaged learners who not only learn soft skills and communication, but also help others. This subject is fascinating. In fact, when I signed up for a PhD for this subject in 2011, I got two reactions. The first one was, "Ki, Rakesh, is there something worth doing a PhD on?" And they were right. I mean, many of them are my close friends and teachers and well wishers. And if you look at the uh, decision making process of PhD students, especially in the business domain, they would do a PhD on strategy, finance, economics, marketing, maybe HR, OB, leadership. Communication PhD, at least, is not a very great career in India for sure. I'm pretty sure in many countries it would be quite similar. And that started the whole concept that we are embarking a journey on today, that these sessions are long discourses. So, all of you who are listening to me, I'd like to tell you that my intention of these long discourses and public lectures is to slow down your minds and help all of us focus on soft skills, communication as deep engagements and deep oceans of knowledge. And we'll swim in this ocean. We'll learn together. So, my intention is to speak for about 30-35 minutes and then take your questions, roughly 1 hour program. Today is the first day. We got an overwhelming response from more than 500 participants from around the world. And let me check with my team. My team, if you can give me a number on WhatsApp in our team group, how many people are listening, that will give an exciting. At 12:02, we were at about 50 plus people. And if my team can give me some stats right now, that will be great. I was looking at the registration form. We are at about 80 plus right now. Awesome. And it will keep growing. Uh, There were many cities of India and the rest of the world. And my intention of starting this initiative is to reach as many people in all the cities of the world who are enthusiastic about soft skills and communication, who want to speak better in front of people, who want to be comfortable in social settings, who want to be comfortable in professional settings. Because if you look at the heart of communication, then why do we communicate? The answer is very simple. We communicate not just because it gives us a social identity, but we communicate because it helps us get our work done. And that becomes the starting point of our session. That Get Set Grow is an initiative where all of us, as learners and enthusiasts of soft skills and communication, will learn how to get our work done with the help of soft skills and communication. We have to speak something, we have to listen something, we have to argue, debate, respond, sometimes manage conflicts, negotiate, sometimes stand up and speak, sometimes online say something, have a social media. It's such a vast ocean. And in today's lecture, I'm going to focus on two important areas. That if this subject is so important, if there are so many of us out there who are enthusiastic, we want to learn, we want to speak better, how in the world has this subject fallen down from the academic focus? That if you look at various colleges and universities and schools, you'll find pockets of this subject and not really in its true form. So, what has happened? And I'd like to demystify that. So, I'm going to spend about 10-15 minutes on the historical evolution of communication, soft skills, and human skills and professional skills, and try and give my view. This is my anecdotal view. I have read a lot of interesting commentaries from experts, and I've kind of understood my perception of where this subject started and where it is today, so that all of you can make sense of where this subject has gone. To give you a perspective, if you were to go to a library and you wanted to find a book on mathematics, there is a clear section in the library called mathematics, and you'll go and you will be guided by someone that, okay, why don't you go to this particular area and you're looking at this form of mathematics, so you'll find this book in this section. I don't think in the library there is a section on communication and soft skills. The librarian would probably think, okay, okay, you want to study a book on oratory and public speaking. Okay, it could be in the communication area, or why don't you look at the leadership area? Maybe it will be there. And if you go to the librarian and say that, no, I just want to focus on languages, so he'll be like, okay, there's a linguistics, so you go there. But then you tell the librarian that, okay, how about a problem in the corporation where there are multiple people from different languages and they have to come together and solve a problem? And he'll be scratching his head and he'll be saying, I don't think I know which section this book we did. It's an interdisciplinary subject. And that's the challenge of this area, that this subject has kind of gone all over the place because it is so complex. And if you look at our lives, the most important thing we all do after breathing is communicate with someone. We have to get certain things achieved professionally, personally. So we are expressing, listening, and doing variety of things which are connected to our ability to communicate, which is why sometimes it goes into so many subjects just to get one thing done. So the first form of my session is to demystify the variety of interdisciplinary subjects this subject cuts across. The second is tell you the complexities of this topic from where the communication skills come in, and end this talk by some suggestions so that we could take you forward and take you on a journey over the next many sessions. I want this to be an infinite session. And I hope the first few sessions I come in, I'm going to bring in experts to this panel. I'm going to take your help and bring more people. And like a snowball, keep working on this concept so that you are ready to get set and grow in your life. And this is a free initiative. We are going to stay in touch with you. My colleagues are going to send you a link of a group that we are creating. So please join that group and we'll send many more information, many more ideas, and see how to take it forward. So let me start the entire session. I started my own research on this subject by a simple question that, hey, where has this subject gone? I mean, I don't see it in many colleges. And while there is a course called communication in almost every university, um, there is a very strange thing that happens that sometimes the English teacher is teaching that subject, and I get confused that many of us in India and the rest of the world don't speak English. English is the lingua franca for many professional contexts, but we are also using vernaculars. And that causes a big problem in the country and a lot of our professionals that they are not comfortable with English. So, why is it that we are teaching communication from an English department? So that became challenge number one for me to start researching. And with due respect to the linguistics and English department, it was not their fault. It's how the subject evolved over centuries. The second is I also taught this subject in various MBA colleges. There is no communication department in various MBA colleges. At best, there would be a namesake department given or an area, and sometimes it would be even put in a HR leadership department. In many colleges, a professor from some other department would teach this subject because they have to cover their credits. In many corporations, there would be trainers who would be self proclaimed trainers who would teach this subject. So they would come to colleges and teach professional skills, usually managers who have worked in companies. So they would be doing a day job of, let's say, marketing, but then would be teaching sales and communication skills. So I also got confused that, okay, is this really communication? And then if you look at the extreme forms of this topic and how it was taught, there are schools of journalism and political science. And there the subject was taught from a leadership perspective. How does a leader speak in front of audience? And I got confused that isn't this presentation? I mean, here is a leader speaking in front of an audience, which is how political science and leadership studies would focus on, that a leader has to inspire. Aren't we doing the same in the corporate world where we are presenting? If I'm a student, am I presenting my ideas to my professor and teacher? If I'm in a social setting, sometimes I have to even speak in front of an informal group of friends. Isn't that oratory in some form? And then the complex, bizarre issues come in, which is the challenges of this concept. The last is when I started School of Meaningful Experiences, the largest demand for my work comes from job interviews, which is a true thing that everybody needs to communicate to get ahead in life. An entrepreneur needs to pitch their idea to get money. A student needs to pitch themselves to get a job. And this is such a complex form of communication from a theory perspective, right? That here is a setting which is very informal. Two people are having a conversation, but the conversation is so stressful because one person has the power to reject or approve, and the second person is a guinea pig. And he's trying his best to speak that, sir, I have done this, I have done that, please give me a job or please give me money. Or even a PhD student, when they have to do a defense, the entire 4 years of research boils down to 1 hour of viva, sometimes even 40 minutes. And if this PhD student is unable to express themselves in a very articulate fashion, this person will scratch their chin and assume that your research is not good enough. And they might fail you or ask you to say, go back and research more. And this is so sad that the entire focus of research comes down to their ability to present themselves. And none of these institutions and the entire education system would help the student prepare for a job interview or a defense. They're assumed and expected to do it on their own. And then in every college, there is a placement department. So the responsibility of this goes to the placement department, which probably is a group of students who are trying their best to help each other, and all kinds of workshops come in. In the corporate world, every manager will say communication is my number one problem. But there are no trainers, no focused individuals, because the kind of processes that are aligned to help a manager, communication is kind of missed. So here is what happened and why this subject has kind of fallen into a fuzzy area and nobody wants to touch about it. And my intention is that after today's session, I hope some of you stand up and say, hey, we want to give this subject its due place in the world. and bring it out from the dumps and give it some kind of a respect that it deserves. And I'll take you back to somewhere in the 16th century. If you look at the universities around the world, they were just beginning to come up. Though the element of gurukuls, the element of a teacher and a student and a scholarship has been there from the dawn of the century, but by the 16th century, things were getting a little bit more professional and a little bit organized. And if you look at the invention of the printing press and the revolution it brought with the typeset innovation that Gutenberg did, now there was a scenario in the world that there were books coming out. And the books were written by great thinkers, philosophers, spiritual human beings, scientists, and they were spreading their ideas to the world. And there were people who would spread these ideas by teaching them. So this was the world of 16th century. So if you look at the schools in those days, 16th century schools, what would they focus on? Let's start with that question because it will help us demystify where we are going wrong in today's schools. And I'm in no way trying to tell you that I have a solution for education system. I don't have that answer. It's a very complex system. But I think it does give a insight on education 500 years ago around the world, including India, and education today in 21st century. And the simplest answer is that in the 16th century, a lot of focus was given to four or five areas. The first was grammar, which is about how does a scholar develop the basics of reading something, understanding what is there in that, putting it in their own views and expressing it in front of someone else. It could be either through writing or by a form of speaking and expressing. So this entire science or this entire subject was a big part of education. The second form of education was, let's teach our pupils and scholars the history of our people, how we have become who we are. So this is where they would bring stories of kings and noblemen and warriors and bring in philosophy into this whole concept and help the scholars understand what is the right thing to do. And this is where there is a reason why they were taught these things, because in those days, if you look at education, it was given to the most wealthiest and influential people in the world, which means kings and their relatives and the noblemen and the people who ran the state, because it was a very, very expensive form of education. So it was designed to be given to a certain section of the audiences. So what would a king or a nobleman need? They would need the information to do their job better as a statesman, as a king, as a person who's able to give justice. And then the university started to offer programs so that to run the state, you need officers. They should be able to articulate things better. So lawyers, clergymen, people who could spread religion and spirituality and science also started. So the kind of programs that the 16th century institutions used to give was highly focused on the foundations of education, which is history and philosophy. And they were designed to create people who could speak very well, because these people were in the public domain. They were kings and noblemen and politicians, and by the definition of this, they were highly in front of public. When you are highly in front of public, the public is observing everything you are saying and everything you are doing. So they were trained in communication and behavior and leadership thought processes in those days. And this is the form of education which was there in that 16th century. Now there is another set of education standards that were evolving. This was the age where there was a tremendous innovation in science, and many good things happened. So I'll give you a simple example. This was the time where machines started to come in. There were wars happening. You need innovations to make the wars better for the kings. So there was the advent of cannons and guns. And when you are When you're riding a horse, you need stirrups, you need metal, you need alchemy, you need chemistry, you need to forge new metals, and then you need somebody who could tinker that metal and give it some shape and create something out of it. So a new form of skilled labors was beginning to happen. And these skilled labors were coming from people who used to run these businesses, and they would certify these skilled people. And this was the gilded situation where there were guilds. So there would be a guild of people who could make guns, and they would certify people who could make guns. There was a guild of people who could make a specific kind of ship. So there was a certification program or a guild or a consortium who would certify that this scholar can make a ship or something within the ship. And like that, if you take your minds to various forms, this is the job skilling market of the 16th century, but highly packaged from people who certified them to go and do this. So there were associations. And in many ways, in the 21st century, we do have associations: the chartered accountants, the law people, the medical group. There are associations that certify them, and pilots, and so on and so forth. But if you look at their knowledge systems, they focused on the skills to do that job. So if I'm from the guild of ship making, I'll focus on the skills that a ship maker needs. And there, the communication was not there. All you were taught was, how do I make a ship better? How do I forge metal to make a gun better? How do I make, let's say, complex design, uh, con- uh, specific materials to build a building or a aqueduct, and all these things. And communication was not the focus, because people thought that what would you need communication for? Communication is for lawyers and noblemen. So communication took a back seat, and these people were taught basic communication techniques to do commerce. Ki boss, go to this person, pitch your product, tell the price, negotiate, and come out. So there was some element of commercial communication, which was not communication. So that's where the break happened. And you see this break even till now. All our education institutes, even till now, focus more on hard skills. That, okay, let me focus on getting the skill of becoming a biotech person. So I can do biotech sciences, I can do experiments in a lab. But at the end of the day, you have to come out of the lab and talk to people. You have to convince them. Who will teach you that? That part was gone. And this is the starting point of division, where this subject kind of fell flat. There was no taker. There was no department who said, hey, I'm going to focus only on communication, because the departments broke. Some people went towards pure chemistry, some people went towards pure alchemy, some went to math, some people to linguistics. But this whole art of communication, to tell someone what do you want, there was no taker, and it broke. So the division of this subject became very interesting. So some people in the linguistics department started to teach it. That's where the first home of communication studies happened, because in those days, Latin, English, in India, it could be various languages we had, like Sanskrit, Hindi, Tamil, many languages were there. So each of our gurus and scholars and professors in those days, adhyapaks and adhyakshas, would teach in a local language how to speak. In India, we had kalas and vidyas, and one of them was the art of conversation. It was called samvachya, but somewhere it was one of the many things. And who would teach that? Maybe the same guru adhyapak who was teaching everything else. So it became part of the curriculum, but not a specialization of the curriculum. So that caused a heartburn, that you are using language to teach communication, because you need languages to communicate with people. Fine, so we got that. So one department that took over was linguistics. The second department, which took the subject in a very different area, is political science. And they said that, hey, we cater to a certain need, that we want to build better states, better democracies, better republics, better politicians, better statesmen, and they have to be trained in the art of oratory. So we're going to teach the subject from our perspective. So that became the second home of communication studies, that political science still uses heavy rhetoric and heavy communication studies, but for a specific need, which is a public person who's going to always be in a public life, and their communication skills are extremely important for their future. If you look at the tragedy of that, all of us, including me, we don't aspire a public office. We just want to live our life, become entrepreneur, go do a job. But we need that skill because my ability to present is very important in my pitching and in my corporate life. But that went to political science. So that break happened. The third break happened, humanities department. A lot of these subjects, social sciences, how human beings came together, how do they behave with each other, they went to humanities because it is the subject of human beings. And there were some groups of people who said that no, we are going to ignore communication, we are going to focus on behavior of people. But according to me, that's a tragedy again, that when two people comes, don't they communicate? And doesn't that communication give us a mechanism to judge their behavior? And the humanities department said that, hey, Rakesh, we don't listen to you. We do our own social theories. In this theory, communication doesn't exist. So that separation happened. Then comes the 19th century and the 20th century. This is the time the industrial revolution took off and machines were made and the business department started to come, and they said that okay, we need people to talk, but we don't want them to talk too much. Let's focus on them making machines, managing machines. So they gave heavy dose focus on operations management, marketing, sales, industrial relations. Communication fell flat. There was no taker. At best, somebody said ki theek hai, let's teach communication from industrial labor perspective because the manager has to manage the workforce. So that became a very niche area and kind of fell flat. HROB systems started to revive it, but they also focused on their theories, and communication never saw form. In fact, in many business schools around the world, communication is not part of the HROB system. In fact, I have seen in my own experience with some of the colleges I worked with, the professor is teaching communication but wants to be called a HR professor because they feel it's an insult to be called a communication professor. Okay, no, I am a leadership professor, but I'm teaching communication. And this to me is a very strange phenomena I've seen, but it comes from the history of business school evolution, where business schools gave more focus to operations, marketing, productions, strategy, economics, finance, and nobody cared about communication. But all of them know that communication is what gets the influence out. So there was no taker there. So business school at best created a HROB department. Then comes journalism, which is a fascinating revolution of the 17th century French Revolution. There are a group of people who take pride in writing something, that we will create change through the written word and visuals. So, in the French Revolution, this whole aspect of printing pamphlets and writing a essay and telling the world that the king is a tyrant created a new revolution in democracy. This was the fourth estate. So journalism became a very strong school. But they again looked at it from their perspective, that they are using communication from a written form. We're not going to focus on the oral form. We're going to take a piece of view, write it in 600 words, make it as good as possible because we have only 600 words, real estate in the paper, print it, and that print will change the world. And their focus goes heavily on the form of writing. So they went in one direction. So journalism is one direction. Nowadays, journalism is about taking a mic and videos and telling people what you're doing. So it has kind of gone into a manipulative sort of communication, which is also propaganda. And that's the whole theory of media studies that people like Marshall McLuhan proposed in 1970s. But that's a different world. They don't talk to anybody else. Then comes a new form in the 2000. This is the science of behavioral sciences or behavioral economics, which was made famous by a lot of researchers from the economics department, that how do people make decisions? What are the reasons for them to make decisions? And how can I nudge people to make a certain decision? Again, highly propaganda, manipulative thought processes, but connects from basic science of economics. And Daniel Kahneman and Amor Tversky wrote this fabulous book. which has produced an ocean of various other topics of behavioral sciences. And communication becomes a very interesting part of that. That if we communicate in a certain way, I can influence decisions. And this is the nudge theory that Richard Thaler and uh, the Nobel Prize he won. The book is called Nudge. So it goes into decision making sciences and behavioral economics. And finally, a new concept of leadership skills. Now there is a huge focus on 21st century skills, futurism, and communication studies are being heralded as a very important part of futurism, which is the leadership skills and 21st century skills. So, to summarize, this subject has kind of become nobody's baby, and everybody uses it to do their job. So, the linguistics department, the political science department, the humanities department, business HR department, journalism department, decision making behavioral economics department, and finally a new department called leadership skills, which I think again has its own fuzziness to it. And it is a foster child of all these departments. So my request to all of you is that if you are a serious enthusiast of communication, bring this subject to its form, and you need to put together a department or a center in your college or your university or your school and call it the Department of Communication Human Skill Studies. And we need to bring this because nobody is realizing that people come together to do certain things done, and that's where communication comes in. And if nobody is going to focus on it, then how will we teach our students and pupils and our professionals and our leaders to express themselves in a way that gets the work done? And people who do that move faster. People who aspire to do that are always worried, how do I even start learning? So I hope this gives you a perspective of why this subject has become a problem in our academics. And I hope some of you who are listening to my lecture who are teachers, I think will bring this subject to uh, some form. So that is my message number one. Now let me take you to message number two. What exactly is this whole soft skills and communication and human skills and professional skills? How do we understand them? And there is a very nice, I think, a story I heard from either it was Adam Grant or one of these professors. I think the whole idea of soft skills comes from dividing jobs into hard versus soft. In the World War or the military definitions, they divided the job into hard skills and soft skills. What are the hard skills? If you have to fly a plane, run a tank, operate a gun, anything that required hard equipment, those jobs were categorized as hard skills. So it required, in many ways, if you could also stereotype it as a masculine job. I mean, I don't agree with this, but this is how it happened. You needed brawn to do these jobs. So you needed men of a certain strength to be able to do that. And they were able to operate these machines very, very well. And the same thing happened in the Industrial Revolution. Now, unfortunately, that put together a very different connotation to soft skills. That soft skills, oh, soft, soft, soft. So very feminine. Men cannot do this. So, and there were jobs at the back office where they needed people to run with messages, operate the telegraphs, communication came right there. And many of them were given to women at that time. So that became soft skills. Now, I don't think the militaries and the organizations intended it, but this is how it happened. And that creates this whole area of soft skills. Okay, postpone it. I don't need it because I don't need soft skills. They're soft. Hard skills, I need them right now. So teach me coding, teach me marketing. They are hard skills. I will get a job. Soft skills, baad mein dekhenge. We have come this far without soft skills. So I need to crack my exam. I need math, science, history, civics, geography. मुझे वो पढ़ाओ. Soft skills भाड़ में गया. And this is the problem. And if you look at the attitude of every parent, every professional, every principal, every academic, they only focus on the curriculum because the hard skills are get the exam. That's a hard skill. So let's prepare you for the exam. But then in the interview, that's a soft skill. When you come to the interview, we'll worry about it. And then we'll give you a crash course of 4 hours and expect that you'll become a great communicator. I think we have dug a pit for ourselves. I think we've gone wrong. And this is why this subject has fallen flat. And then people like me and many more are trying to revive it that, hey, ignore the word hard and soft. I think they're human skills and they're professional skills. They are soft skills. Treat it with respect and know that you may be able to do a great piece of code or a spreadsheet, but you should also be able to explain that to others so that they understand what you want and you get your work done. And that's the whole concept that School of Meaningful Experiences and all of us are trying to create. Now, in this scenario, we need good teachers who can teach this subject. We need good content to be given to people, and we need to deliver it in a way that the learner finds meaningful. And the learner has separate requirements. If I'm a student, my soft skills needs are very different than the needs of an entrepreneur. If I'm an entrepreneur, my needs are very different than what is needed in the colleges. If I'm a college student in the final year, my needs are very different from senior managers and leaders. And if I'm a senior manager and a leader, my needs are very different than even people of a certain category, like women. Their communication needs are very different than the needs of men. And this is becoming a serious problem that many women, they take a break because of motherhood, and many of them lose the confidence, and when they come to the corporate world, they are unable to come back because of lack of confidence and communication. So there is a need to do programs for that category. And in many countries like India, the girl child is still given a second status. The boys are given more important status. So the girl thinks कि मेरे को तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है, because that's how the world is. So we need to lift their confidence up, which the boys don't need. The boys have a different problem. They probably have a separate challenge that they may not have the articulation skills. So that becomes a separate program. And then if you apply the concepts of vernaculars, boys and girls have serious problem when it comes to vernaculars. I speak in Kannada, I think in Kannada, but now I have to talk in front of people in English, and that creates a mess in our lives. So we feel that let's stay quiet, and if we speak in all kinds of English, broken Hindi, and then we ramble, and the other person feels that we don't know enough. And this is a very judgmental topic. So I'm going to take the last 2 minutes and give you a terrain of communication skills and build on these concepts for the next session that I do with all of you. The terrain of communication and soft skills is huge. It's an infinite ocean. So imagine an ocean, and I'd like you to come with me on a boat ride, and we'll go to various islands. And each of these islands, we need to spend a lot of time there to master them. One life is not enough to fathom this whole ocean. And by the way, after a point, we don't even know how many more islands are there because it's an infinite ocean. Even I have not gone there. Probably my life is not enough to go there. So we need more of you to come forward and research and teach and extend the science of this topic. The first big island is oratory. How do we speak in front of people? They have to listen, and within this island there are so many different parts. In the corporate world, it's about presenting. In the student world, it's about presenting to your professor to get marks. In entrepreneurship, it is pitching. In schools, it's about giving a speech, and many more forms of oratory. Nowadays, you don't even stand up to give a speech. Right now I'm giving a oratory, but I'm sitting down and I'm on a camera, so it's a very different world. So in that oratory island, there is all these flavors. So that is one island. The second island is that we don't stand up and speak. We are having a conversation. Somebody says something, we listen, then we respond. And this is a very strong form of communication called interpersonal communication. In that, there is a formal element and informal element, and that's where things go horrible. A meeting room in a corporate world switches between formal and informal very quickly. When the meeting starts, people are having small chat. How are you? Informal. But the moment the boss says, okay, what happened to this problem? It is a very formal communication. Just 1 second below, he was informal. So people get very confused, and there is a stress because the boss is asking question, and there is a business, there's a client. In job interviews, it's very, very complex as well. So interpersonal communication island is all of that, and one of the most toughest islands to understand. The third is where you have to influence people and put your point of view. And not every time you present to influence people. Many times you are speaking just to inform people. But there comes an influential part, and that is very complex, which is not just about speaking, it's also about giving the right information, sometimes a product demo, and various concepts of business and hard skills that are required. So that is the influence island. The fourth is the mediums. We have to convey on a medium. So that's an island. Right now, I am on Zoom or StreamYard, very different than when I would be sitting in front of you. So that's important too. The sixth one is writing. Writing itself is a huge island. How do you write a persuasive document? How do you write an email? How do you write a proposal? How do you write a blog? How do you write a summary? All these things are extreme forms of communication. And the last is this new world that you and I are part of, social media. We are WhatsApping. WhatsApping is a classic example of written communication, but done in a way that the person is almost having a conversation with us. So we are actually using interpersonal oral communication to written form, which is why we put a smiley, we put a BRB and be right back, and all these acronyms. And it's very, very strange. And sometimes we use the same WhatsApp language in a professional email. And I have seen that in many companies, and the boss or the CEO sends a message that please don't write BRB in emails. I mean, you have to be careful because the client may not understand this, and there's a professional communication. So people are very comfortable with social media writing, but then when it comes to proper writing, it becomes complex. And there they're applying interpersonal communication to have a conversation, which is very tricky. So remember these islands, and communication is this form which uses all of them to achieve one thing and one thing alone, that we communicate. At least that's the focus of my life of School of Meaningful Experiences. We use communication to get our work done. To me, that is the starting point of my lectures with all of you. In this, relationship becomes very important. In this, my understanding becomes very important. My power to think becomes very important. My power to express my ideas to you becomes very important. And yes, we are afraid of being judged. So we have to take that into consideration. Many of us are very scared of speaking in front of people. So, in these public lectures, I'd like to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Today, I demystified two concepts. Concept number one: where has this subject gone? And the answer is it's broken into 9 or 10 departments all over the university or the corporate or the school. And I request you to bring it to a stature where there is one department which takes care of it. You can call it anything, that's up to you. But I think we need to really put together a flag of a communication department in every institution. And it is a combination of interdisciplines, which is linguistics, philosophy, political science, humanities, business, journalism, decision making, leadership, and many, many more which will evolve. So that is my message number one. Message number two: this subject is an ocean and there are islands. Today, I just gave you a panoramic view to these islands, but in the next session, I'm going to go deeper into the first island, which is oratory. And we're going to spend some time for the next 1 or 2 sessions. My next session will be on July 6th. It's a Wednesday, somewhere around 6 o'clock. Stay tuned. We'll talk more about that. We are now ready for questions. So please feel free to uh, take time to ask us questions. My team will take it, and I will try and demystify that. We have about 15 minutes more. Okay, we've got our first question from Aditya Sethi. If hard skills is greater than soft skills, I'm assuming that sign is greater, greater. Will this hamper your growth in the long term? I worked with manager who are tremendously good at what they do but extremely bad at communicating. So Aditya, brilliant question to start. Matlab, kya boni wala question? I mean, boni is this. If this question is so good, I can only imagine great wealth coming. Right? That's boni. So Aditya, thank you for that. I completely agree. I think we have reached a point where, if you look at leadership research, management research, jobs of 21st century, I think the crying need is that please invest in soft skills. We are not saying that choose hard versus soft. All I'm saying is invest more in soft skills. That's what my focus is. You still need to fly a plane. Still need to make a machine. You still need to write code. You need to make medicines, vaccines. Do all that better, but then also connect better with human beings. Speak properly, listen properly. If you have a conflict, don't be rude. I mean, be respectful and resolve the conflict. If you're negotiating, don't kill the other person. Give and get. If there is a person fighting with you, calm them down. And if you are angry, express your anger in a way that it doesn't disrespect human beings. This is what soft skills are. And you need to then empathize and inspire your audiences to move forward. So the answer to your question is yes. After a point, your hard skills will not take you anywhere. It is about your human connections. And if you look at the role of leaders and managers, they invest most of their time with people. So the more soft skills you have, the better it is. And if you look at the way these management leadership techniques are coming down in age, you need these skills even in schools and colleges. All of you are leaders of your schools and colleges, your neighborhoods. So if you can have better soft skills, you can speak better with your neighbors, you can calm them down, you can help them, you can influence them to do something right, and your leadership will go up, which hopefully will translate to some good career outcome for you. So thanks for that question, Aditya. Next question. Next question comes from Jack Sharma. Sir, I go blank with my thoughts while speaking, and then an awkward silence follows. It's very embarrassing for me at times. Yeah, yeah. So I know the hidden question. We are going to go deeper into oratory and glossophobia next week. Oh, sorry, not next week. In my next session, where I'll give you some foundations of this. So remember, Jack and all of you, these sessions are long discourses. My intention is to demystify the theory. And sometimes it's good to slow down and understand theory. And I'm not going to bore all of you. That's my promise. You know, the reason scholarship happens is to immerse you in the literature in the right way. So, Jack, there is a very big theory about why we are afraid and why do we feel embarrassed. Is because that when we are speaking and people don't understand us, or we go blank. First of all, we are seriously attacked by anxiety, and when we have to speak, this is performance anxiety. So we have to perform in anxiety. So our brain is anyway in a terrible situation. Imagine the brain is a machine. The machine is on an overheated mechanism. It will not operate very well. So you need to understand why you are so anxious. And the path emerges from there, that you are attacked not by anxiety because you don't know, but you're very uncomfortable with failing in front of people. So you're embarrassed, you are ashamed, you are feeling कि अरे यार आज तो इज्जत खराब हो जाएगा मेरा. And these are important emotions that our education system should have helped us to deal with. कि rejection तो होना ही है. So we have to then prepare you for how do you get rejected. So Jack, there is no solution to become um, to deal with this situation. The only solution is fail more, get embarrassed more, so that you become comfortable with embarrassment. And there is a way to deal with it, which is the whole emotional cycle. And again, brings a very interesting connection. In many ways, communication is connected to mental wellness. And I'm glad, Jack, you asked this question. If I'm mentally anxious, if I'm unwell mentally, if I'm going through anxiety in my life, I will have a terrible time communicating with people. I will not get jobs. I will stutter and stumble. I will get blanked out. So these are serious mental wellness issues, and you should go deeper into it. So the root cause is not communication. The root cause is your brain experiencing emotions, and you don't know what to do with these emotions, which are causing a big harm to you. And then you might fail in job interviews and communicating, and you might think that I'm not a good communicator, and that's how the brain preserves itself. So all these things are connected. They go into social sciences, humanities, and neurosciences these days. In many ways, behavioral economics is also there. So that's another subject there. So, Jack, we'll talk more about it on July 6th, I think around 6 p.m., and we'll take your question deeper and go more into that theory. Next question. Zeba Ali. Zeba Ali asks, I'm always apprehensive of how I should sound to others while I speak, and focus is more on the other person's reactions rather than my own articulation, because of which I struggle to find the right word. Zeba, what a brilliant question. Heart of psychology in many ways. Actually, not the heart of psychology. If there are some psychology people, they'll kill me. This is not the heart of psychology. Anyway, I'm just a learner of psychology myself. Zeba, this is the heart of at least what I focus on. That you are more concerned of what people will think of you, and the true answer of that is it's not your fault. I think our Indian societies and education system are built on these systems. We do care about what people think of us, which is why telling others that we are in a convent school, in a better school, in a better college, in a better job is important to us. क्योंकि हमारी society में हमारी इज्जत वहां से आती है, which is so wrong. So deep inside, Zeba, many of us are not connected to our true personalities, and our ability to speak, our ability to prove we are very good becomes the need to get appreciated. So you have a classic self-esteem issue. I'm sorry, I should step back. You may not have it, but this is an indication that you give more importance to what others think. If you are giving more importance to what others thinks, it could be a sign of low self-esteem. I'm really sorry, I don't want to judge you. I'm not an expert in that area, but it sounds like you may be suffering from low self-esteem issue. And when you are working hard to please people, your mind is focused there. And when you're working hard and your mind is focused only to please people, you are not doing what your mind can do, which is invest in the right words in the brain. Tell yourself that it's okay, I don't have to please people. So that capacity of your brain is utilized in finding the right words, and then that can help you in articulation, and you'll be able to find the right words. And with practice, your self esteem can come up, you will feel better, and you'll be able to articulate very well. So, Zeba, think about self esteem. It is connected to self doubt and self confidence. And many of us who come from Indian cultures and education systems, I think our societies, families, and education systems are the three. Imagine, we are like a ship, and there are these three ships in front of us, and they are the education system, families, and societies. And I'm not making this as a joke. This is the reality. This is how we have evolved. We have a canon which is damaging our self esteem. And that canon is that we compare you with others, and it is there in various movies also. Sharma ji ka beta, Kapoor saab ka beta, uski beti, and you're always compared. You're not good enough. So those are the canons the education system, family, and society point at us, and they shower canons at your self-esteem, and your self-esteem is brutally damaged because of this. So the cannons will not stop, but you can learn to deal with them better, have a more strong iron facade, and if the cannon comes, little bit damage will happen, quickly fix it. And then these techniques, at least in School of Meaningful Experiences, we spend a lot of time in helping our learners with their self-esteem, self-confidence. We make them feel comfortable with their failures. We are not saying that we'll make you successful. We'll make you comfortable with your failures. We'll make you comfortable with yourself. We'll make you feel better about yourself. And once that happens, your mind will be able to articulate better, because right now your mind is in a stress anxiety mode all the time. And we have to take you out of that. Excellent question. Next question, please. I'm so excited. I'm having a great time. All right, here's our next question from Aditya Saraswat. I'm an IT professional and I have 10 years of experience, but still find hard to communicate with peers maybe lack of knowledge, good English. I'm good at IT skills, but now want to focus on soft skills. Brilliant. All right. So, Aditya, here is the reality. Our brain is like a machine. And imagine your brain to be also like a deep well of knowledge. Now, if the deep well of knowledge doesn't have water, there is a problem. So you don't need English skills, but you need knowledge. You can fill your brain with knowledge of your IT and maybe few other books that you can read, or even in your vernacular. That's all right. When I gave the lecture, the first 30 minutes I spent on grammar schools. What is the need of grammar? We need to know bhasha, language, that how do the words come together? What are the words? Vocabulary is very important. So that brain well is should be full of vocabulary, information, knowledge, and curiosity. And curiosity is the fuel that puts it in there. So here's my request to you, Aditya. Don't focus on becoming a great English speaker. Let's say you are comfortable in Hindi. आप हिंदी में फोड़ू बन जाओ. Read a lot of books, कविताएं पढ़िए, अच्छे अच्छे stories of our literature people पढ़िए. At least fill your brain with that. Because when your brain is full of vocabulary of a certain language and you're able to put them together, it sharpens your brain. Then comes the next challenge that, okay, your brain has to now translate that and do it in English, because in the corporate world, English mein kaam hota hai. So that's the next stage. And then I have a suggestion for you as well, Aditya. This is where I had a friend, and I've said this example like a million times. मैं आज फिर बोलता हूँ. मेरा एक दोस्त था, उसने आज तक, I remember I met him in the college for the first time, मेरा roommate. उसने कॉलेज से आने से पहले आज तक इंग्लिश का एक सेंटेंस नहीं बोला था. And how does he solve this problem? So he read books, memorized the languages, and focused on that. The second thing was when I went to US for the first time, I had a same roommate, comes from Tamil Nadu, had never spoken English even till that day. So now he's in America. So how does he improve himself? So he would watch movies in English and read the subtitles and practice it. And he would watch very slow movies, drama wali movies, Oscar wali movies. But that's the investment, Aditya, you have to do. So please invest in watching something in English. It could be a movie, and slow movie. Don't watch these Avengers kind of movies which have more war scenes and action rather than dialogues. I mean, no disrespect to their creativity, but some slow movie where there's a lot of dialogue. So you can read the sentence better and watch it multiple times. Read a book in English and their translation in English, and put more water in your brain. The moment the brain well starts to get filled up, there is a very good pattern formation. Synapses come closer, neurons start to work together. So your brains gets programmed, and you're an IT guy. Your brain needs programming. Programming के लिए you need material. Without material, वो that uh, building of words will not happen. So that bricks you need to put in. And once those bricks come in, I think you'll be able to do a better job. We'll talk more about that in the next two lectures. Next question. Himali. Himali Shanbag says, I have 20 years of experience, but I feel that I will not be able to communicate in an interview. I feel nervous. It reflects in my body language. How do I look confident? Very good question. Again, we'll go deeper into this in the next sessions, and we'll walk. I think our travel to job interviews will happen in few weeks, but we'll demystify it. Himali, first of all, delete the sentence, I will not be able to communicate. I think you can. You wouldn't have survived 20 years without your ability. You must be a good person. You must have some strength. ठीक है, आपको इंटरव्यू में डर लगता है. I get it. And all of us have phobias. The definition of phobia is that we know we are afraid, but it may not be the truth. That's what a phobia is. So you may have a phobia of interviews. It may be social anxiety. It may be fear of failure. It could be the embarrassment of rejection. And you must be a good student. क्या होता है हिमाली जी, एक तो हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में, इफ वी आर क्वाइट अ टॉपर इन द बिगिनिंग, in the later part of our years, failures can cause phobias. So we get serious anxiety issues because of these issues. So think about it. हो सकता है कि आप बहुत ही super intelligent, super achiever रही होंगी, and now the whole dynamics of the game are very different. So you have been trained to play a game 20 years ago in a certain way. Now the rules have changed. So you have to learn the new rules of the game. And that new rules of the game are very simple. It's about, first of all, preparing. The second is practicing. And the third is telling yourself, ki, theek hai. I mean, if I get rejected, there will be some other company who will come. And don't take it on yourself. I think communication is impacted when we feel ashamed of ourselves. When we feel कि मेरे से नहीं होगा. Communication and confidence are tightly coupled. I'll tell you my own problems of communication. When I have to speak in a language other than Hindi English, I'm afraid of that situation. In fact, I start to shiver. So I can understand that when you enter a job interview, that scenario could cause कि यार मुझे कुछ आता ही नहीं है, because we have not been trained. But if I'm given a training how to speak in a vernacular language, I sit with a teacher, I invest time in it, I'm sure I'll be able to give a speech in that language in some time. And I'll make mistakes, लोग हंसेंगे, कोई बात नहीं, अगले speech में मैं अच्छा कर लूंगा. This is the only path forward, Himali. So there is no miracle waiting out there. अगर आपको लगता है कि आप मेरे क्लास में आके you will crack this interview in one day, I must disappoint you. This is a long form change process. The brain synapses and patterns take time to be broken, and you need to invest that kind of time to unlearn, learn new things, tell yourself that emotionally I will go through hell, but that doesn't mean that I'm any less capable, and I'll try my best. So we'll talk more on the sessions and job interviews in the future as well. All right, we'll take one last question. And Ruben, are there many more questions? We're at 1 o'clock.
Rakesh, yes, we do have a lot of questions. We have another last three more questions to go, and then we'll end the
Okay,
session.
three more questions. So size is first. I recently came about this term called active listening. I would like to know what it actually means and how does it play a role in effective communication. Thank you. All right, Sai, I don't know what active listening is, but I can guess. Listening is listening. All right, ये active listening और ये सब jazzy English language वाले words लगा के, it's the same concept which has been there for thousands of years. When two people come together, you have to listen first. The problem with all of us is that we are not listening these days. क्यों? Our dimag is on WhatsApp. We have to get work done. We also have our own agendas. और आजकल there is a big problem in the world कि किसी के पास time नहीं है. And that has caused a problem that all of us want maximized results in 1 second. Jaldi paise kamane hai. Time is money is what we are taught. And now we come to a relationship where we have to listen. Listening is a very slow exercise. और हमारे पास तो टाइम ही नहीं होता है, तो हम लोग सुन ही नहीं रहे हैं. So the other person is talking और हमारा दिमाग is racing in responding to them. And I've seen that in many of my classes. We do role plays. Two very good intelligent human beings but interrupt karte hain ek dusre ko. I think that's what active listening probably is, that first of all, don't interrupt. Chupchap karke sun lo. It is very hard, trust me, Sai. I can teach people to become great orators, but teaching them to become good listeners बहुत time लगता है. I myself am a bad listener क्योंकि as a human being I also want to say speaking is a more rewarding exercise. Listening is a very expensive exercise, and my brain wants more reward than expensive things. So it's a human problem. So I have to train my mind कि भैया तू चुप रहे और सुन ले पहले. So that is step number 1. Step number 2, demonstrate listening कि यार, I mean, imagine Sai, you are talking to me और मैं ऐसे करके WhatsApp कर रहा हूँ. I mean, you'll feel insulted, right? So I have to demonstrate listening. And the third is that I should at least pick up what you've said, which is a very quick sentence called paraphrasing. So Sai is telling me that, sir, active listening I've heard, I would like to know how it is and what is the role of effective communication. आपने बहुत बोला. So I should be able to pick up and paraphrase. Okay, Sai, looks like you want to know about active listening. I get the question. Now let me respond. So this is active listening, which is one, Shut up and listen. Get your mind to control yourself. Second, demonstrate your listening. And third is quick one short sentence paraphrase, and then you respond. And according to my experience and many researchers, you can really build great relationships with this technique. Conflicts go down, people become calmer, your relationships will become much more influenced by your behavior. And many times, most people in the corporate world and schools and colleges feel acknowledged कि यार मेरी बात सुन ली इन्होंने. अगर आप बात सुन लोगे, हाफ द प्रॉब्लम्स आर गॉन. द प्रॉब्लम इज हम लोग नहीं सुनते हैं. हम लोग तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेंगे, उसमें एक एल्गोरिथम बनाएंगे क्योंकि हमको भी अपनी लीडरशिप दिखानी है. तो दैट्स वेयर थिंग्स गो रॉन्ग. सो आई होप आई आंसर्ड द क्वेश्चन. नेक्स्ट वन, अमित. I find myself good in speaking English, but my problem is different. It's the tone of my voice, and people complain that I speak in a very low voice. Any suggestion? अमित, आपका सजेशन तो आपके क्वेश्चन में ही है. अब भाई, आपके सेल फोन में अगर वॉल्यूम नहीं आ रहा है तो वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज करोगे ना. सो दैट्स द सॉल्यूशन. सो हियर इज अ रिक्वेस्ट टू यू. We all have, unless there is a physical impairment, which is again, God has given us all these things, and I empathize with those who don't have all the senses properly. भगवान ने मुझे senses दिए हैं, तो I'm very grateful कि भगवान has given me a vocal box which can change. This thing is super powerful, and with practice, so I can make it even more powerful. So, Amit, my request to you is please invest in opening up your vocal box. It's super powerful. In fact, there is plenty of research that there is nothing called uh, certain tonality which can't be changed. With practice, it can be changed. Music students do it all the time. थिएटर स्टूडेंट्स, मतलब द होल आइडिया ऑफ थिएटर इज कि मेरे को अपनी आवाज को इतनी ज्यादा बुलंद करनी है कि दूर दूर तक लोग सुने. एंड आई एम नॉट बाय बर्थ लाइक दैट. सो देयर इज अ प्रोग्राम, देयर इज अ ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम टू ओपन योर वोकल कॉर्ड्स. एंड एज आई सेड दैट अनलेस there is a natural impairment which causes you not to speak up, I think you can raise your voice. So tip number 1, take a poem and read loudly. Train your vocal cords to open up. Tip number 2, in the friend circle, raise your voice a little bit and ask them that, am I audible now? I had one colleague when I was working in a company, and she had a natural soft tone. But I tell you, I saw her screaming at her boyfriend once. And I was there. I was a very good friend of her. We still are very good friends. And that day I told her कि यार तू तो बहुत चिल्लाती है. So it is possible for a person with a very natural soft tone to raise their voice and scream. And she screamed so well, मतलब वो डर गया बेचारा. So we have that power. We just have to find the trigger to get it out. And many of us, we feel inhibited. Like this friend of mine always felt that soft speaking is a good sign of respect. But we need to raise our voice because कभी कभार noise होता है, people सुनते नहीं है. तो please learn to tonality increase कीजिए, and it's possible in your life. Next one, Bitu Agarwal. How will School of Meaningful Experience help me in improving communication? अरे बिटू जी, मैं तो इतनी देर से रामायण पढ़ रहा हूँ और आप पूछ रहे हो राम कौन है. So please take a look at our website. All our programs are there, but these sessions are not to promote my programs. I mean, I honestly, मुझे नहीं करना to get you to sign up for my programs. I don't believe in that. उसके लिए हमारा अलग काम चलता है. You can go to our website. Please write to us. My colleagues will reach out to you. But please go to our website, and there is a demo. Please have a demo session with us. And we started this to help all of you. And I have a simple mission कि अगले at least till the day I die, I have to teach millions of people how to speak better. So please come to us. We have a program for everyone. And if not, we'll create a program for you and make sure that you are given the help that you need. Next question. Aman, I have been given a charge of HR department recently at regional office of my bank, and I have nil knowledge of HR and its functions. Aman, this is beyond my scope, यार. I'm sure अगर आपको opportunity मिली है तो आप capable होगे. But the foundations of HR is the word human resources, right? So if you manage people, help them, आपका काम हो गया. So I don't have expertise of what a HR function is, but I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. What would I need in my HR function? Make sure that they are respected, make sure they are given the payments on time, make sure they have the policies of the organization, they are trained how to behave in our organization, and any benefits. Like we have our own benefits. We are not the best company in the world, but we have certain employee benefits, because for me they are my biggest stakeholders. I think that's your job number one. The HR department's number one focus is ki yaar, are my teams doing their job better, and are they equipped to handle their job? Are they happy? Do they feel empowered? They are humans. How will I treat my family members? Will I treat them as resources कि मैं उनसे काम करवाऊं, या will I treat them as family members कि I have to take care of them? So this is the job of HR department, but that's not my focus. Aman ji, I'm so sorry. आप किसी अच्छे HR consultant से बात कर लीजिए. So I think we should close now, Ruben, on that. Did we cover the three questions, Ruben?
Yeah, Rakesh, we've done all the questions. Now you can conclude.
Okay. All right. So, request to all of you, if you're listening to me, our next free lecture is on July 6th, roughly 6 o'clock in the evening. Roughly is because it could be 6 or 6:30, but it will be in the evening of 6th July. It's a Wednesday. The reason we're doing it on a Wednesday evening is that we are getting a lot of emails from various countries, and they say that we want to do it in the middle of the week after office hours. So we're experimenting with it and we'll see how it goes. So please do join us. My teams and colleagues will put a link. We are creating a group where we can stay in touch. We want to do more work with you. If you are a teacher, learner, entrepreneur, enthusiast, just a person who loves to learn, doesn't matter. Join this group. We'll talk more about soft skills. We'll talk more about communication, and we'll build a community so that we can keep learning. We'll even do small events in your cities in the next few years. So we'll need your help to become our nodal points and our support systems. And if we create a small group of people who can learn together and speak better, I think I'm done. Mera mission kamyab ho gaya. So on that note, my colleagues, please put that link. Please also tell us how this program was, if it helped you, what we can do to improve, what topics can we cover. And again, these are deep dive discourses. So they're not workshops. We want you to listen and engage with us. We want you to ask questions. And then this informal group is the way where we'll do more work together. So on that note, thank you very much for being there for me. You really make this worthwhile, and I hope that we can learn from each other. My team, thank you so much for organizing this. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye bye.